The echoing silence. In the heart of the Pacific Ocean lies an island unmarked on most maps. Known as Sable Isle, it was once a bustling hub for maritime traders, but was abandoned decades ago under mysterious circumstances. Legends whispered of voices that echoed in the wind, of shadows that moved without light. Few dared to venture there, and those who did returned with tales that chilled the soul. Dr. Eleanor Grant, a renowned anthropologist, had always been drawn to the unknown. When she stumbled upon references to Sable Isle in an old maritime journal, her curiosity was piqued. Despite the warnings from colleagues and locals alike, she assembled a team to explore the island and uncover its secrets. The journey was treacherous. Storms battered their vessel, and the sea seemed determined to keep them away. But Eleanor's determination was unwavering. After days of relentless travel, they finally set foot on the desolate shores of Sable Isle. The island was eerily silent. The once grand structures were now in ruins, overtaken by nature's relentless march. As the team set up camp, an unsettling feeling settled over them, as if unseen eyes were watching their every move. That night, Eleanor was awakened by a faint whispering. She sat up, straining to hear, but the sound ceased. Dismissing it as the wind, she lay back down, only for the whispering to return, clearer this time. It was a voice, calling her name. Grabbing her flashlight, she ventured out of her tent. The camp was still, her colleagues asleep. Following the voice, she was led to a crumbling chapel at the island's center. The doors creaked open, revealing an interior shrouded in darkness. As she stepped inside, the whispering intensified, surrounding her. The beam of her flashlight caught glimpses of faded murals depicting scenes of anguish and despair. At the altar stood a figure, translucent and wavering. "Eleanor," it whispered, "you shouldn't have come." Heart pounding, she demanded, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" The figure's face was sorrowful. "We are the echoes of those who came before, trapped in the silence. Leave now, before you join us." Before she could respond, a force pushed her back, and she found herself outside the chapel, the doors shut tight. Racing back to camp, she woke her team and recounted her experience. Skeptical but uneasy, they agreed to leave at first light. As dawn broke, they made their way to the shore, only to find their boat missing. Panic set in as they realized they were stranded. The whispering returned, louder and more insistent. Days turned into weeks. The team dwindled, each member succumbing to the island's eerie influence, disappearing into the shadows. Eleanor, the last remaining, wandered the ruins, the whispering now a constant companion. One evening she returned to the chapel, resignation in her heart. As she stepped inside, the whispering ceased, replaced by a profound silence. She approached the altar, where the figure awaited. "Welcome," it said as darkness enveloped her. Months later, a passing ship spotted signs of habitation on Sable Isle. A rescue team was dispatched, but they found no trace of Eleanor or her colleagues. Only their belongings remained, along with a journal detailing their harrowing experiences. To this day, Sable Isle remains uninhabited, a place where the silence echoes with the voices of the lost, warning all who dare to listen.
The Forgotten Room. It all started when Daniel and his wife, Emily, moved into their new house. It was an old Victorian home, nestled at the end of a quiet street. The previous owners had left suddenly, selling the house at a price too good to refuse. The first few weeks were peaceful. The house creaked at night, but that was expected for a structure over 100 years old. But then strange things began to happen. One evening, as Daniel was unpacking boxes in the basement, he found something unusual, a door he hadn't noticed before. It was smaller than the others, its wood aged and cracked. Curious, he pulled the handle, but it wouldn't budge. It was locked. "Hey, Emily," he called up the stairs. "Did you know there's a locked door down here?" Emily came down, brushing dust off her hands. "Locked? Maybe it's just storage." Daniel shrugged. "I'll check later." That night, the dreams began. Daniel saw the basement in his dream, but it wasn't empty. A shadowy figure stood in front of the locked door, its back turned to him. It whispered something, but the words were muffled. The figure then turned its head. Only it had no face. He woke up in a cold sweat. The next morning, Emily noticed something odd. "Daniel, were you in the basement last night?" He shook his head. "Number why?" She pointed at the floor near the basement door. There were dirty footprints, but they weren't coming from the basement. They were leading into it. That evening, Daniel decided to force the door open. With a crowbar in hand, he wedged it between the frame and pushed. The wood groaned, resisting, but after a final shove, the door swung open. Behind it was a small, windowless room. The air was thick with dust, and the walls were lined with faded old wallpaper. In the center of the room stood a chair, and on the chair sat a doll. The doll was unlike any Daniel had seen before. Its glassy eyes stared ahead, its lips slightly parted as if whispering something. Its dress was old-fashioned, tattered at the edges. "Who leaves a doll in a locked room?" Emily asked, shivering. Daniel picked it up. The moment his fingers touched the fabric, a sharp pain shot through his arm. He dropped the doll, shaking his hand. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The whispering from his dream had returned, but now it felt closer. When he opened his eyes, the whispering stopped. But as he turned to look at Emily, he froze. The doll was sitting on the dresser, facing their bed. "Emily!" He shook her awake. "The doll, it's here!" Emily rubbed her eyes. "What? You probably brought it up and forgot." Daniel knew he hadn't. He grabbed the doll and threw it back into the basement, locking the door behind him. The following nights were worse. The whispering grew louder. The locked basement door rattled at odd hours. Shadows moved where there shouldn't be any. On the fifth night, Daniel woke to find Emily standing beside the bed, her eyes open but blank. "Emily?" He reached for her, but she didn't react. She turned and walked out of the bedroom, moving stiffly. She went downstairs. Daniel followed, his heart pounding. Emily stopped in front of the basement door. She reached out and, without hesitation, unlocked it. "Emily, stop!" Daniel grabbed her, but she didn't resist. She only turned to him, her lips parting. "He wants to come in," she whispered. The basement door creaked open on its own. The room was no longer empty. The chair was now occupied, not by the doll, but by a figure. The same faceless figure from Daniel's dreams. It slowly rose from the chair. Daniel grabbed Emily and ran. He slammed the door shut, dragging her back upstairs. She collapsed on the couch, gasping. The next morning, they left the house. A few months later, the property was sold again. Another family moved in. One evening, the new owner was unpacking boxes in the basement. He found something unusual, a door he hadn't noticed before. He pulled the handle. It was locked.